This is the Okayest Hunter podcast. Never pass on shooter bucks, because that's just meat in the freezer. It's your tag, you hunt how you want. This is Okayest Hunter.
What up, everybody? Welcome to the Okayest Hunter podcast, coming at you from the Okayest Hunter podcast studio. I just get sick of saying that. I got to change it up. But we're coming at you from Oconomowoc. Greg is recovering from procedure that he had. He is in good shape, so good for him. He's not here tonight. And the roads are very, very icy here in Wisconsin. We had a bit of an ice storm blow through, so Derek isn't here either. And so the guys are taking the night off. It's just me for the moment for the intro, but we do have a guest I'll bring on in just a second here. But I do want to call out some of our sponsors here live. The studio we're in is brought to you by Spartan Forge. They're a presenting sponsor. They help build this whole thing, and they, as a technology solution provider, technologist, smart app, AI-driven stuff in the outdoor space, it makes sense that they help kind of put on all the cameras and all the stuff that we have going on here. And if you haven't heard of them, please check them out, spartanforge.ai. You can use code OHP for 25% off. And they're rolling out new stuff all the time. That app is going to look nothing like it did when it launched in the next couple of months or by next season for sure. It's just chock full of a ton of features that really will help you as a hunter, whether you're urban hunting or you're out in some rural area or in the middle of nowhere. There's ways that app is going to help you out as far as predicting where the deer are going and give you some mapping applications and things like that. So shout out to Drop Time Spirits. I'm drinking no one to cheers to tonight except for all you guys that are listening in. I think Brad's probably got a water when I bring him in. He's been sick and he just got back from the Great American Outdoor Show. So let's go ahead and bring Brad in so you don't keep hearing me ramble on. Brad, what's up, buddy?
What's up, man? Yeah, I am drinking fluids to hydrate. It's good for the soul. It's good for the body. I'm not quite back on the brown water yet.
All right. You probably had a bunch of brown water. How did GoWild go?
So the Great American Outdoor Show, my company was up there for what felt like all of 2022. And we had been preparing for this thing for months. I mean, literally since Thanksgiving, we had been building this booth. And we got up there. We trailered up there with our new trailer, Gladys. Yes, we named our trailer because it was a big deal for us. So we spent, I don't know, me, Braden, and Erica and Dan went up there, set up. I was up there for like 5 days. I flew back, and we kind of like platooned, for the most part. But then the second leg, Braden got sick. I got sick. Yeah, we did great on sales. It was super fun meeting all the members. But literally Sunday night, as you've heard on my podcast Uncensored, Team GoWild has our own podcast called Uncensored by GoWild, and we talked a little bit about it, and we just keep talking about it because it was so awful. The pack out was terrible. Braden and I are like hacking up a lung on top of each other. And it was 20 degrees, but you know what? We made it through it, man. And it was one of those sufferings like a marathon. You get through it and you're like, that was terrible. We should do it again next year.
That's terrible. We should do it. Let's do it again. These taste like burning. I'll take 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I'm glad that you're doing better. And it sounds like trade shows are in full effect right now, in full swing. People have like totally jumped back onto it. Mask mandates are being lifted. You can drink on a plane again. Bordering countries are lifting like travel restrictions and such. So it seems like we're really kind of crossing a long time coming threshold.
Yeah, I think they're only letting the elite drink on the planes. It's just first class right now. So
is that for real? Is it only first class?
Yeah, dude. So I've definitely I've been on 4 flights in February, and that was the case on all of them. But I don't think it's an American Airlines thing either. I think you just can't drink on planes yet. So
interesting. I know Southwest had put out some announcement like, as of such and such date, you can now drink on a plane, and I took that as like that's a key indicator that we're crossing some sort of threshold.
Dude, if anybody was going to do it and just be like, screw it, we're doing what we want to be Southwest. That's the way to go. They really take care of you. You feel like you're a member of the family there. I hate flying through anybody else.
Yeah,
Sorry if you work for the other airlines. I can't stand it. You
they
guys
get
gotta
it
work.
though. They take care of their people, and
They
so
do.
I guess maybe, and you guys get it, and you take care of your people. So let's talk about what you're doing here tonight. I know you were on the show back when we were Where to Hunt, 2, 3, 4 years. I don't even know.
Dude, I don't know either. I kind of forgotten that we did that. I knew we had because that's kind of back in the beginning of you and I meeting each other. You were on my podcast too, so yeah, man. I don't really remember when all this got started, but I'm glad to be back.
Yes. Yeah. Welcome back. Things have changed quite a bit since then for both of us, and it'd be fun. I should go back and like play a clip or something, to hear A, how young we sounded, but B, like
How
how
naive.
far you've come. Yeah.
Just little babies in the outdoor entrepreneurial world, just sweet and innocent, didn't know nothing.
Well, okay. So I think we've been talking about Go Wild on our podcast. It's the intro ad that you hear. I don't roll it live. I roll it after the fact. So in podcast land, that's where people are going to pick it up. So I think most people that are listening to our show have heard of Go Wild, but just fill us in, man, because where you're at now is, like I said, different than where you were like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, before I do that, can I just say that I'm not used to doing live shows, and this is awesome. You said before we started you weren't sure if anybody would show up to comment, and there's already like 6 or 7 people here, and I recognize quite a few of these. Like, shout out to Tom and Braden. It's pretty cool to see names coming in, so that's awesome. Thank you guys for joining us for the show. I think this is really cool.
Hell yeah. And by the way, we do have a call in line. I'll post the number to the screen as we get later into the episode. So if you want to call in and razz Brad and ask questions about the platform or whatever, please feel free to do that when I put the number on the screen. We'll open the phone lines up in a
This is
little
just going to turn into us taking customer service calls for Go Wild orders.
bit. There you go. Where's my order?
Yeah, people are like, "Where are my free stickers?" Okay, we'll talk about free stickers.
By the way, here's
Yeah, dude. We do free stickers, so we'll talk about that in a second. The app is free. The app's Go Wild, so we're a free social community helping outdoor enthusiasts improve your skills, connect with other like-minded people. You can discover gear on our platform. Gear is very central to what we do. You can shop for it as well, and then you can also earn rewards. And the rewards, I think anybody that's watching, and especially like Tom, who's been around for a long time and has seen the platform grow, and you, Eric, you guys would say that the rewards has been one of the coolest things that we've done, because the overall, when you post in the platform, you can post your deer, and it can be a doe or it can be the okayest buck. We're not looking for these big trophies. It can be bluegill. It can be like whatever. We got like 250 species you can pick from. You're getting points as you're communicating with other people. You post, you get points. As you log time for this podcast, you'll get points. Right? All this stuff adds up. And then as you get points, you unlock rewards. So this reward system that we have, when you sign up, you automatically get $10. You start unlocking points towards free t-shirts, gift cards, stickers. I mean, it's really, really cool how fast you start ramping up. And a lot of people even have asked me, like, man, I'm no dummy. I know you guys are running a business. How are you guys doing this? How are you able to give me free stuff, right? And as a business, we're putting our money into the community. We're not out there. My big bet is that if we really take care of our community and invest in the community, then we don't have to spend all the crazy advertising dollars. Like, I'd rather spend that on the people that care. And then too, I mean, we have really cool swag, and now we've got walking billboards for the platform, and we're trying to grow it that way. It's a little bit different. It's not everybody's cup of tea. It's not everybody's what everybody's into, but it's the Go Wild way. And I think if you join some of these guys that are on here and showed up, I think you'll find it's a really cool community. And I mean, I very rarely get negative feedback on it. I mean, if ever, the community's awesome. We've put our heart and soul into the platform itself. So if you're sold already, you can go to downloadgowild.com and create a free account and get that $10.
Yeah, it's a very welcoming community. And I think I heard you say at one point, I don't know where you said it, if it was a video, or I follow you on LinkedIn, and your posts on LinkedIn are just incredible. If you're not on LinkedIn, don't rush to LinkedIn or anything like that. But if you are on LinkedIn, definitely follow Brad. He's got such great things to talk about, and really an educational, really critically well thought out posts. But somewhere along the way, you said something like, look, if I go to New York and I go to Times Square and I shout out, hey, I want to learn how to fish, or I want to learn how to hunt, or I want to learn how to trap, there's probably gonna be no one, but tons of people, hundreds of thousands of people, and maybe one person, and that they're not going to be like so like into that one thing. But if you go to GoWild and you shout something out, maybe you're on like your downtown, your area in your local community, and or you're at like a trade show is the synonym I think you'd use, like an outdoor trade show. And if you shout that same thing out, everyone
Right.
is going to be in your wheelhouse, and you're going to have a lot more open arms of people that can actually assist you with what you're talking about or looking for
That's
help.
right.
And
Yeah. So
I
and think of your Instagram account. Like if your Instagram account is made up of like your Aunt Phyllis, it's the lady from HR, it's the girl down the hallway at work, it's your neighbor. These aren't people that necessarily do what you like to do as a hobby, right? Or as your lifestyle, as I like to think of hunting and fishing. So if you're trying to get into something, especially if you're new, because if you're new, you don't have a community at all. That's where it gets really tough. Like right now, if I wanted to go learn how to fly fish, short of walking down the office hallway and asking Jacob how to do it, because that's probably what I'd really do. If I didn't have Jacob sitting down the hallway, though, because he works here at GoWild, I would go and post on GoWild and learn. I mean, it's just you have such a rapid ability to up your game on our platform. It is crazy. People sometimes message me questions on the platform because everybody gets an onboarding message from me that's automated, but I really do respond back when they respond. And they'll ask me things like, "Hey, what's the best way to get into whitetail hunting in southern Mississippi? I'm trying to find public land and I blah blah blah. I don't know about muzzleloader season." It's like all these very specific things to your region, and I'm like, dude, post in the community. That's what it's for, And now they post, and then like within 24 hours they got 10 comments. Where can
Well,
you
one
do
of the
that?
features that you have is you have a proximity feature to see who's posting in your locale. Like you can actually look at people that are in some radius to where you're
Right.
geographically located. So then it's way more relevant to maybe what you're doing. I think on one of your episodes you have a couple of different podcasts. I don't know if it was the uncensored one or if it was Gearbox Talk. I think it was a Gearbox Talk. You were talking about how to use the actual application.
Yeah,
And
I think
Eric
so.
had mentioned like, well, it might be good to get on the Trail Mix. Trail Mix is the different feeds that you have for different topics. And if you go on Trail Mix and you look for shed hunting as your hash or your keyword or whatever, and you're geographically looking for people around you, you might actually see people are finding sheds in your area rather than someone that's on the opposite side of the country that has nothing to do with your seasonality or what have
Yeah,
you.
exactly. So right now, turkey season's coming up. So I'm scrolling down to turkey hunting on the trail mix. We've got like 130,000 people that follow turkey hunting on our platform. And the first post I see, there's one from Missouri. And on the main feed, that's pulling things that it thinks are relevant for you.
Okay.
So in the trail here, I've got a post from Florida. I'm going to tap this near me button.
There you go, right in the center.
The green one over here. And
Yep.
now when I scroll, this is so hard, inverted and backwards and upside. It's like, so now that guy was in Indiana. This guy is posting from Ohio. So these are people that are within 150 miles of me or within my state. That's as relevant as it gets for hunting, right? Because really we realize that it's not just people that are in your state. Because if you're in a big enough state, south to north may be totally different. So sometimes you just want people that are within you from a radius perspective too. So the near me feature is awesome. I think it's really underutilized, mostly because we forget to tell people about it. It's like there's a lot of stuff baked into there, and that's one of the coolest features that we have.
That is a really cool feature. I remember when it kind of came out, I was like, holy shit, look at this. This is great.
Yeah, dude, it's sweet.
The discoverability of that stuff. And just, I don't know, the comments are not trashy. They're not spammy. I know there's like some bots now on Instagram that like every post we make, it's like, send the pic to this outdoor page for
Yeah,
promotion. It's like, no,
you
stop
can
commenting on
you
my
can
shit.
get sponsored.
Oh my God, throw up in my mouth. But to that point, we're live on TikTok too, and we're live on YouTube, and we're live on Facebook, and we're live on Twitter.
I'll make sure not to pull out my gun since we're on TikTok.
Yeah, well,
I don't
know.
want you to get banned.
They can't see you on TikTok. They just see me and they hear you. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
the
Well,
limitation I
then
have
we're
there.
good. I'll pull out. Where's my gun? Where did I put that firearm?
Your
Hang
Smith
on.
and Wesson or your Glock, whatever you got going on over there.
Right.
But to that point, we made a post the other day, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, and it had a picture, like a small, like a fraction of a second, a gun, a revolver with some bullets next to it. It was from some movie scene. We do a lot of curated content. And boom, broke a violation. It happened to be the second one. I didn't even know we had a first violation that was broken from December. And then like you can't post and
Yeah.
they don't give you any ETA. I think people call that your shadow banned, which is a term that I've heard, where you still can
Yeah.
you can still do stuff, but it's really limited. And I was like, shit, it's interesting because on one side of the equation, we're getting free exposure, lots of it, more than I could probably get if I were paying for it with our shit budget to Facebook and Instagram, especially with the new iOS updates and things like that. So, I'll say that there's a lot of outdoorsmen and women that are on that platform, but you're very, very limited and suppressed with what you can post. If there's a picture of antlers or a deer or a gun, it's like, no, 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 no. So it's like not the same. But on your platform, I'm not gonna say I can post whatever the hell I want, but to some degree, I'm
Yeah.
not
There's
model for
definitely.
a gun or a grip and grin or something like that.
Yeah, there's definitely content that we don't want, I mean, and we have things that we have set up as protection for our members. I don't want your pornographic crap on my platform either. So we do things like that to regulate. But obviously, as a platform built for hunting and fishing by hunters and anglers, we're much more receptive to that than TikTok. Just to talk a little bit about that real quick, because I don't know how to say this without sounding douchey, but I probably just know more about this than anybody you're going to talk to. Like I just do. Like I know who else would sit around and read the terms of service at TikTok. I've spoken on a panel about this stuff with Chuck Rossi, and just from osmosis of like being near Chuck Rossi as many times as I've gotten to be either speak with him on my podcast or
Who's
he's
Chuck Rossi? Can you?
so Chuck Rossi is he was one of the first engineers at Facebook, like super early at Facebook. He literally wrote the book on how to deal with firearms in a way that advocated for firearms, because Chuck likes to shoot, and he's the founder of Open Source Defense, which is a nonprofit that's trying to cut through all the BS that we deal with, all the polarized language that gets pushed out there and as it relates to firearms. And Chuck's just trying to be very middle of the road, objective advocate for firearms. He's a competitive shooter. He's a trainer, but he also is an engineer, and he's worked at a lot of the big Silicon Valley companies, one of which is Facebook. And Chuck not only wrote the policies, but has seen behind the scenes how a lot of this stuff gets done. And so Chuck has not worked at TikTok, but there are industry groups that kind of backdoor and talk about all the stuff that he's a part of. He's got more insight into this than anyone I've ever met. That's the only person I've ever actually met who can actually get stuff done when you get taken down from Facebook. In fact, the first time we got banned from Facebook for advertising, Chuck's the one that got us out of it. And I had tried for a month, 2 months almost, to get us out of it, and we had failed. So I say this not to brag, because I mean, it's like a stupid thing to brag about, of like, I know more about TikTok than you do. Like, it's not what I'm trying to do. Just to frame it up, they they have it in their policy. It is in their content policy that you cannot show a firearm. There are written rules against getting injured. There's like almost moral clauses within TikTok that are really wishy-washy and easy for them to define how they want to. So when you sign up to play that game, you kind of got to realize what you're signing up for, that this is a platform that is probably at some point going to do, like within our space, you're probably going to have video taken down. And it may not even be one that, like, it may not have a firearm in it. It may not have a dead animal in it. I think you sent me the thing the other day that Taylor Drury said that, she was kicked off of there for not, and she had never shown. I think I'm going to bet, just by the way she worded that, I think she probably did not realize that literally just having a gun or a weapon, even like even a weapon, any kind of weapon, can get you in trouble. She probably didn't know that rule, and that's probably a part of it. They're super strict though. So if you're going to try to use this as a business, if you got a podcast or you're trying to push a clothing brand as a small company within the outdoor space, whatever that is, you got to just play by the rules, man. Like you can't cowboy this stuff. You're going to get deleted. There's enough evidence now on that panel that Chuck and I spoke at NSSF or SHOT Show.
Mhm.
Melissa Bachman's there, and she's been kicked off TikTok. She's banned from TikTok. And all the content is stuff that we would see on GoWild and celebrate it, and it would probably go viral, right? Like it was cute stuff with her kid. A lot of it was just totally nonsensical. but she was kicked off of that platform for violating their rules. So if you're going to try to grow a brand or a persona for your show or whatever it is on those platforms, you got to play by the rules. I mean, it's just that simple. And the rules are really complicated. It's basically don't show any weapons, don't get too gory. You're going to have to like pretty much just stick to the super high level outdoor adventure type content.
Yeah. You would know the guidelines better than me. I reviewed them after I got a video taken down. I'm like, what did they take this down for? I'm not selling anything and you're right. You can't show that picture. And, I wonder, I actually thought about it in the context of like, oh, what if John Wick 5 was coming out and they were going to run an ad? Like, how would TikTok navigate that?
I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question.
Because that's the most gun-toting movie I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, dude, I'll tell you this. Facebook will look the other way if you pay them enough. I mean, we know this. We've basically heard it from their reps. There's accounts on Facebook that advertise that break the rules. I mean, we have screenshots of these accounts that break the rules, and they're like, yeah, but they pay like as much as you guys do in a year in a day, right? Like that when you pay enough money, and
then the ethical
we don't
boundaries get bent a little bit, or
yeah,
what have
oh, not just bent, just completely like throw the rule book out. We like money. We're not going to say anything about it. So the rules, Braden's commenting on here now. He's the one that's had these conversations. The rules don't apply to everybody on Facebook. So,
if TikTok is like Facebook, if you spend enough, they will let you do whatever you want. Interesting.
Yeah, we don't know that about TikTok. He's saying if it is, but we know that on Facebook and Instagram, if you spend enough money, they will blindside look the other way, because at the end of the day, that's the revenue source. And if you've paid attention to the news over the last year, Facebook's getting just crushed to the tune of losing $300 billion in their valuation.
I think their earnings report, on their conference call, I think they said something like there's still more tailwind to come from the iOS stuff that's happened. Like they expect more
as these forced updates happen, because a lot of people don't update, so they still had good data on people, and they did there. If you were buying ads, which again we're not anymore, but they were giving you timelines at hey, we think that we'll have good data for this amount of time. The other thing that happened too is Google just announced they're going to do the same thing that the iPhone did, and they're going to be curbing this data sharing that Facebook has. Basically, Facebook has all this data sharing between all these, like literally hundreds of thousands of apps, and they cross-reference all these device IDs, and they're able to build really crazy. I mean, it's the greatest advertising mechanism ever built. It just is. It worked, right? It worked really well, and we're seeing from an advertiser perspective. This isn't Brad saying this. I'm telling you what I'm reading. People are calling it the end of the golden era. Because it was so cheap to advertise on Facebook because the data was so available. And now, it's just gone through the roof. I'm probably nerding out a little too hard on this for your audience, but like, it is interesting for how this stuff works. Like, people don't realize how much it is compromised. Like, they're like, oh, I don't care if anybody's looking at my data, but like, you're being manipulated to the tune of like every website you've been on in the last 10 years had a Facebook, a cookie or a pixel or something watching you.
Man, it is interesting. And what the trade-off between convenience and privacy is one that we're willing to make as consumers all the time.
And Facebook says that consumers now get less targeted ads, and Chuck even said that at the thing that I spoke at him with. It's like a lot of people want targeted ads. I personally like my privacy. It's like I would rather just get the same random junk that everybody else does before I have someone crawling as deep as Facebook goes. I guess before I'll kind of get off this, but if anybody's really interested in this and like how deep does Facebook go into your data, you should really read that book, Facebook: The Inside Story, and it talks about how they built this machine, and it'll make you rethink your technology adoption. I want to give Tom a shout out because Tom mentioned here the GoWild members are very good at policing the site because we take pride in what GoWild is, and that is so true, man. We actually we have some levels, like I said, of protection against bad content like porn, but we also we lean on guys like Tom and Mike Larson and Derek Towles who These guys that have been on there for a long time, when they see something that somebody's trying to hack the reward system or something like that, these guys report it. And also, if it's bad, if it's something that we might have missed, these guys will report it. We don't have too much of a problem with bots because a lot of these guys will report it. So these guys really are integral into keeping the site clean.
That's good to hear that you have a strong community that's doing some of that policing for you
Yep.
because of the pride. And that just goes to show how great of a product it really is to that degree. So, but yeah, we could nerd out pretty deep, and I don't want to go into maybe too much of that stuff. And I had some other thoughts there, but I think I might just let them flounder in my brain, and I'll forget them. I don't want to spend too much energy.
AKA Brad, you went too deep. Or before we lose anybody, let's pull us back.
No, I don't mind. I think, but the I don't want to call it cancel culture, but things delete. You just get deleted. Like I don't know how a gun brand navigates this. Like, how do you, what do you do to reach people? You have to find places where you're welcome, and you have one of those places where those types of brands are welcome. But as hunters and anglers, we just love sharing our lifestyle. It's no different than someone that shares something about cycling or running or swimming or flying or skydiving. And to take that away from us just feels honestly a bit unfair. And because some larger population deems it cruel because of a lack of full comprehension, understanding of that way of life. When there's a shared interest of like recreating on public lands, if you're into bird watching and hiking and morel mushroom hunting, you've never drawn back a bow or shot a pistol. You got to realize at some point that the funding to protect those lands that you're enjoying, a lot of it's coming from hunters.
Yeah.
I don't know how we bridge this gap. And I know this is a whole different topic too, but I thought Mark Kenyon's book was okay. He kind of talked about some of the parks, and I think he's doing this apolitical stance and trying to bridge that gap a little bit because he does a lot of recreation, but also hunting. He's a little bit of both. He can pull from both ends of that spectrum. I think Ronell has done a good job of pulling new people into the space and telling the story of the whole field to fork, but in an eloquent way, short of eating eyeballs. That's always kind of weird. He does make it sound really good though, like dough, and I'm hungry.
Wait,
So
he eats eyeballs?
Oh yeah, he eats like the fatty tissue around like certain eyeballs of an animal, like a caribou, and he's like, "Look, it feels like dough." And then he eat it, and he's like, "Yeah, it feels like dough, right?" He does it to everybody on this show.
I
It's like it's
I
really common,
I haven't seen the eyeball ball thing. That's interesting.
But so it's just we're socialites. Social media is a part of our lives these days. Everyone has a smartphone in their pocket, whether Android or iPhone. It doesn't matter. We're all engaging in some way, shape, or form on these platforms, by and large. Whether and YouTube is owned by Google, and Google, I had saw had given you guys some flack at some point. Like the fact that it can just be the snap of a finger and suddenly you're erased or deleted. It's tumultuous. It's like, what the hell? What do
Yeah,
we do as hunters and anglers?
well, I mean, just in general, man, we're in a point where, and this is where everybody, certain podcasts I can feel people bracing for impact because they feel me getting ready to go down this conspiracy funnel.
It's not,
This
but it's
is
happening. This isn't conspiracy when it's like,
exactly. It's only conspiracy if you can't prove that it's happening, and it's happening. I mean, you just go look on Twitter and look up Joe Rogan. Just look at what everybody's saying about Joe Rogan right now, and most of the people that are talking about canceling Joe Rogan have probably never listened to an episode of Joe Rogan, right?
right.
Like, I
Headline.
guarantee you, they don't even know what was said about the vaccine or any of that stuff. They're just repeating what they've been told was true. And a lot this is the same thing. Joe Rogan's an interesting one to me because
It carries such an audience.
he carries such an audience, but at the same time, um, it's like so exemplary that people are doing what I'm saying. Like they're not at all aware of his stance or his position or who he really is. I mean, anybody that's saying like Joe Rogan's a racist, I'm like, really, of all the people in celebrity status, I feel like that's one of the good guys because I've listened to his content and I'm like, sure, he might be a little crazy. Like it probably like there's moments of things that guy does that are like a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but the dude has like this huge heart and people don't care though. It's just like we just are constantly shaving off things from this block of society that we don't like about it, as if we're trying to mold it into something that looks like what we think it should look like. And for a country that was founded on and is supposed to be built on diversity, we sure as hell don't like a lot of diverse thought, right? Like that's kind of I mean, just putting hunting aside for a second, you start to think about, like, literally Rogan's being roasted for having purely conversations around the vaccines, and he's had both sides
Yeah,
all along the
he's just
way.
trying to have informative conversations. He's not
And
claiming
it's been both
gospel.
sides,
Yep.
it's been well represented, but he's being attacked because it wasn't within this ideal idyllic narrative that has been promoted. That's the same thing that's happening right now to hunting. We have the Sportsman's Alliance right now is pushing this big case from the Biden administration, and there's this narrative that is coming from animal rights activists, and they're saying that hunters are killing like through lead poisoning. There's all these assaults on hunters in this, and I'm not up to speed enough on this to where I'll quote it. But if you're not a Sportsman's Alliance member, you should be, because they're leading the fight against this group. But also, if you go to their website, sportsmansalliance.org, you'll be able to find this. They're doing a good job of pushing this right now. That's just one example, right, of the fight against us right now.
I'll
And
add to that real quick. Bill with Spartan Forge, I'm not sure he's still watching, but I know he was a minute ago because he had commented. One of his pro staffers, Bo Martonic with East Meets West, had written an article about exactly what you're talking about, and it got taken down. They got shadow banned because Spartan Forge shared it. Interesting enough, we had shared
Bill
it.
told me that.
So it's just, here's an example. I'll just let you continue on with what you're saying there, but I wanted to add that little nugget there because Spartan Forge is a sponsor of ours. We, agree with a lot of what they're doing, and we support with their message. And obviously that was something that we had shared also. I don't know if his was an ad or an organic post or what have you, but it's just like, it's weird.
Yeah. So I apologize if anybody missed
I
it.
got to sneeze too, so I have a mute button. It's okay.
It's all, I don't have a mute button, but or you may have muted me, but I'll just tell everybody I had the flu. I don't know if we said that part of I think we said it when we kicked off, so I'm still coming through that. But there's this, I keep seeing these narratives crop up that are anti-hunting, and thinking through how dangerous some of this stuff is. I wrote a ginormous article about this recently. And honestly, it was kind of funny because I took a little bit of flack from some people who I think are just incredibly misguided of thinking that we have this great thing going in hunting, and hunting is fun, and I've been doing it my whole life, and we don't have to worry about anything, and nothing's wrong with hunting, right? And because there was this push from Matt Ranella, who's Stephen Ranella's brother from Meat Eater, who we just talked about a second ago, that maybe hunting has twice as many people as it needs, and there's a lot of things that Matt Ranella sees that are wrong with hunting. And a lot of what Matt said is true. Like, a lot of how he has described the influencer landscape is true, and I identified that in my article. But that is like, we're fighting over table scraps if that's where we're going to fight and die on that hill. Because right now, as we sit here and fight amongst each other, there are literally organizations that are organized, they are well funded, and they are litigating to our death. I mean, this is not like the death of 1,000 cuts. This is the death of like 20 blows type stuff. And I published that article, and for the most part, I got really great support from our community. There was a couple people who did not like the fact that I said that hunting is too white, which I don't care. It is. If you don't understand how voting works, then you might be inclined to disagree with me, and you might say it doesn't matter. And I think people thought that I was pandering too much with that, and that I was trying to like pander to a different narrative. But the fact is, this is how polls work. When you want to win elections, you focus on demographics, right? And the truth is, hunting is not dying through any other force than the polls. I could go to Sportsman's website right now. What's up, Greg? I could go to Sportsman's Alliance website right now, and I could read you article after article after article, and we could spend the next 20 minutes of this podcast reading all the litigation that is going against hunting right now. And even liberal-leaning NPR, dude. NPR reported in 2018, I read about this report, that Wisconsin is at risk of losing hunting altogether by 2050. those are the kinds of things that are happening through the litigation, little by little. People think it's going to come in the swift blow, and there's going to be a ballot, and it's going to be like, should we ever hunt again? That's not what it looks like, man. It's little by little. They take out fur trappers, or they take out a very specific type of trap, and then they're taking out bear hunting with dogs, and then they're taking out a little bit more of the bear hunting season. And then the next thing you know, you're New Jersey, and that's how it happens. And people are just completely ignorant if they think that these aren't attacks that are going to matter over time. Look at like Michigan, for example. Every time I've talked to my buddy Mike, and I actually hunted up there this fall with him, I'm just astounded at some of the stupid laws Michigan has around hunting. Huge hunting state, right? One of the best crowds of hunters you'll ever be around. But they have some incredibly dumb laws, and it's not from science. This stuff is not being won through the field biologists who our dollars pay their salaries for, right? It's being hit from these animal rights activists who have the lobbying capability that we cannot fathom. And that is coming. I mean, you go my old podcast, Restless Native, I think it's around episode 72 or 75. I had the Sportsman's Alliance guys come down here, and we did a 2.5-hour show, and they talked about this stuff in excruciating, painful detail. And they talked about how the Humane Society is winning the war. So if you're not like, I'd rather you, if you don't do anything from Brad's speech on this show, if you don't download GoWild or anything, you should go get a membership to Sportsman's Alliance. When I saw the litigation from the Biden administration recently, I was like, you know what? I don't even remember if my membership's current. I went and I doubled down. I made up for the lost time, and I tripled my membership donation as a part of my attempt to fight back too, man. I mean, it's just cancel culture is coming after hunting. It doesn't matter how you feel about it personally. It's happening.
Well, it's one of those things where then, you're so well versed on this topic because you live in the space, and you're, the business side of it. You have to pay attention to some of these things. You're on boards, you're well connected. So I'm glad that you're in the fight, and you're a good voice for what we're doing here. And you're self-aware enough where you're never like slamming anybody. You can articulate it really well. You're objective in your thought. You're not being a subjective a-hole about it. But to speak to, like fighting over table scraps and dying on a hill of influencers or what have you, based on what Matt Ranella had said and all that. I think what we're trying to do in the tiniest little space ever, because OK's Hunter is like, a speck in the space, but we're trying to create a welcoming community for everybody to help avoid the neck from biting the head off.
Yeah.
This whole deer shaming stuff and people razzing other hunters, that's got to stop if we're going to even begin to think about battling the litigation that's coming our way. If we can't get our own shit together amongst ourselves, what the hell chance do we stand? I mean, think about it in the terms of like if a military was literally beating each other up because you didn't shave your face good enough and I did, and you should have a beard and I shouldn't have a beard, and then everyone starts brawling. How trivial is that when the enemy is coming down the freaking pike and they are organized, like you said? That, you know what I mean? It's just, come on, guys, we got to be good to each other here. We all love this stuff, and God, I don't want it to go away. So for the love of God, just get along for at least till we get through some of these storms.
Right. And this is the challenge with this is some people will listen to, and I don't mean to beat up on Matt Ranella. I don't know Matt Ranella. People I've talked to that
nice.
know.
I said to Doug Thurin, and Doug talked about, Doug's been on Joe Rogan's podcast. He had nothing but great things to say about Joe, and he actually had some great things to say about Matt. And he said, look, he's just a pretty heated old curmudgeon kind of guy at this point. And it is what it is. He's like, I don't really fully understand it, because like I've fished with him, I've been in Alaska with him, been at the shack, we've hung out, and so the family has got some animosity towards some different topics, and that's family stuff. So they aired it out in a public way, and there's arguments we made across the whole spectrum. Obviously, you wrote an article about it, but I'll let you go. I interrupted you a little bit.
No, you're okay. You said what I was going to say with better context from examples of I think Matt's a good guy. I think Matt's incredibly passionate about wildlife, and in a lot of ways I understand where he's coming from. But here the challenge with this is he's talking about his one perspective, and there are people that are like, yeah, trailheads are too crowded. Well, you know what? Most of those guys are probably chasing elk, right? Like that. We'll just go ahead and say that. Like that's probably what they're chasing. Mm-hmm. You're talking about 700,000 hunters in the United States of more than 10 million hunters total. So even if that is the perspective, we're now like, just to put, we're sub 10%. Okay. we're talking about like 7%, maybe even less depending on the year. I think right now we might even be 15 million plus hunters. So we're talking, 3 to 5%. I'm really bad at math, so we'll just pretend that
That
Brad's
makes
right.
two of us.
Um,
Yeah, this is not a good time to talk about math.
Yeah, but the when you start looking at this argument of like, do we have too many hunters? What should it be? That carrying capacity of hunters varies not only state to state, it gets down into a county by county region, regionally, right? So it's almost it's a fruitless effort to even try to have that discussion. But on the flip side, again, we're dying over the table scraps here in the argument of we have too many hunters, because right now, more than anything, we need to get more people into this to win the vote. Because when these things go to the polls, and that's where hunting is dying, is at the polls. And that's where we need more people who understand what we do and the good we do. So that's why it's really important when you talk about this, when you post about it, that you're carrying the story in a really respectful way, and that you're helping other people understand the good that comes from it. You're helping them understand, the good traits you're able to teach your kids or your grandkids. And that's why, like, I again rubbed a lot of people wrong saying that hunting is too white. But guess what? When you want to get into meaningful demographic change or meaningful change at the polls, you get entire new groups. You don't just get a few more white people, right? Like, we need to get blacks, we need more Hispanics, the Latino crowd, we need more women. Like, all of those things are great in terms of furthering our lives, this lifestyle that we love. And that's why
And
I
just
was
because someone
advocating for
doesn't
that,
look like us or talk like us, doesn't mean that they can't be, enjoy what it is that we're doing, and we can't teach them.
Exactly. And people I got challenged a little bit, and like, "Oh, you're just turning this into one more woke conversation." It's like, whatever, man. You're the one that's actually doing that, because I'm laying it down for you. Again, Sportsman's Alliance, which I think is the most credible fight for hunting. Just go look at their website and you tell me if I'm making this up. That if you can't see that this is really happening.
We had Waddell on the show when we were at the ATA. He had, I clipped it, right, because we do, like, a lot of content stuff, and he said, like, honey don't care if you're black, white, like, it don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, it don't care. Like, if you're truly enjoying what it means to embody the spirit of the hunt and what that does for your soul, gives a shit where you come from.
Yeah.
And he had
Right.
said, look, I don't talk like Ranella. He doesn't talk like me. He is very different than how I am, but we have a common ground that we both enjoy this.
Yeah.
And he's like, that can be off-putting for us as hunters to be. It can be intimidating to come into hunting. Guns in and of themselves are intimidating if you've never shot a gun. It can be viewed as a dangerous thing, and in the wrong hands and pointed in the wrong direction, handled improperly, it can be dangerous. So it can be really intimidating to come into something where you're handling a weapon, whether that's a compound bow, a crossbow, or a rifle of some sort, or a shotgun. It's a big learning curve if you've never done it. We had Jordan Syed on our podcast 3-4 weeks ago. He's got 800,000 Instagram followers. He's a fitness guy. In fact, he's a really good fitness guy. He trained Gary Vaynerchuk for 3 years every day of the week for 3 years straight around the whole entire world, right? So his following is by and large not a hunting community at all. And so he, at some point through his, talks about relationship with food and eating clean protein and things of that nature and good calories and so forth, he was like, man, I feel as though I should just go through this journey of a hunt and provide for myself and at least have that experience. So he talked about it on our show, but he lost, I think, a couple thousand followers.
Yeah.
He
I
shared
know
his,
he
and
I looked him up when you told me about it, and I saw his story that like he, people were offended by it. And look, it happens, right? That you do the math. He's got 800,000 followers at that percentage. Just like, yeah, that's about what percentage of the population's vegan. So like you can see that, or actually it's even more than that. So actually I'm surprised it was so few.
but the fact that you could get it from the people that aren't hunting, they're going to attack you. Could you imagine then if hunters were then like, get the hell out of here, you newbie? Like,
Yeah.
guess
Well, we
who's
kind of
never
do
gonna
that.
hunt again? You
You
can't
kind of
do
do that when you shame somebody over their buck.
Yep, and of course, someone like that new to hunting, he's an adult onset. He's in his mid to late 30s, and if he tagged a shooter, what I would call a shooter buck, right? The little, I'll hold a shooter
Yeah.
buck. That then he would get shit on, and what the hell is going on? That's not okay.
Yeah.
So it is interesting, and he's being really eloquent about how he's going to share that with his audience. Furthermore, once he gets the processed meat back, he's going to really tell that story. Like you said, you have to be careful to a degree with how you're going to share the story, and we shouldn't have to be, right? We shouldn't have to be.
Yeah, I think a lot of people also get worked up when
It's
I
just
say that because
reality.
they're like, "Well, I shouldn't have to kowtow and all this stuff." I'm like, I get it, man, but like again, it all comes down to who are you posting it because you think you have a right to and that you can do what you want, or are you really thinking about the impacts of this? And I've written about this a ton.
Mhm.
This is a story I've written about pretty much as long as I have been in the hunting industry and written articles for various magazines or whatever it is. I have talked about the impacts. I mean, I don't really care what your opinion is on grip and grins because you have to, if you just put your lens on the impact that content has on someone, you need to be telling the story that's the most impactful. I'm a big fan of Rochelle Schrute. Um, I don't know if you follow her on
I don't, at
GoWild.
least that I'm aware of.
She's on GoWild. She's on all the mainstream platforms too, but she's a really thoughtful content creator, and she talks a lot about her trophy. And she's a pretty female, so she naturally gets a lot of flack. People giving her grief over shooting something that if I shot it, they wouldn't say a word. I don't know what that is. Like some of you dudes got some stuff, mommy issues to work out or something. But she gets a lot of guys like giving her flack about it. But she's really thoughtful. She actually posts on LinkedIn a lot too. I like seeing people like her share. She can share a trophy photo and somehow makes it like really compelling and impactful. And there's some people that just try to put stuff in your face, and she doesn't do it that way. It's like really tasteful.
Well, you go back to Waddell. He talked about like there's a lot of ego, and specifically male ego, in the space, and people just want to shortcut their way through a grip and grin to put it out there so they can say they did it, and that invites poaching and unethical
Yeah,
behavior.
dude. And that's where I backed up what
Brunella thing. Yep.
yeah, man. I mean, it 100% happens. I have a friend who is probably what most people would call an influencer, and he killed a deer at a camp, and there were all these other influencer-y type women there that wanted to take pictures with it so that they had content. And they are like Matt is right. They're killing for content is a thing that happens, and it's gross. And there's people that literally will kill it with another product, and then they go out and put the competitive hat on because that's who they get the sponsor. Like all this stuff exists, man. Like it's out there, and we try not to play that game with our company.
I just assume because I don't do that other people like won't do that, but I guess I am wrong and severely
Dude,
mistaken because I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't say these stories on a radio show like this, but like, sometimes
Yeah, you're live.
I could sit down and tell you stories of stuff that just make you throw up a little,
It's unfortunate. It's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
It's not even then when you talk about it, like
it's in every industry, by the way, though. But in ours, there's a lot more ethic that comes into it.
Right. I mean, most people aren't killing something. That's where it gets questionable.
Yeah, if you're in the
right?
gym and you're pumping weights and you're like, "Oh, this is the protein I use," but you're actually not fucking drinking that at all. Like,
right. Like, does anybody really care if The Rock really used the protein shake? Actually, some people probably really would, but like, it's not as offensive to me as like killing an animal and totally changing the story of that animal's death to make money. Like, that's gross. I don't really care how you slice it. That's gross.
Yep. And fishing's maybe too like, oh, I use this lure versus that one. Yeah, there's some lines there, but it's not the same as like
Fishing's I am sure there are some questionable things in fishing. I don't think it happens in the same way as it does with hunting. Because a lot of the fishing content, these guys film this stuff almost all the time. And it's like there's so many catches. And you're pulling it out. There's so much like I don't think you could do it at the level it happens in the hunting industry.
Sure, that makes sense.
It's very easy to shoot a deer and show up at the kill site with a totally different set of broadheads, for example, or like literally to say you shot
muskie fishing's more synonymous here. I know guys that'll like bring a couple shirts, man. You catch one muskie and that's it for the
right.
And that's comical, I think, a little
Yeah.
bit. Maybe true. I'm not sure. I don't catch muskie, so I wouldn't be able to speak to it. I wish I did. It seems like a pretty fun fish to catch.
It looks really fun. I've done,
but that's a different story.
I've done Gearbox talks about it. I don't know a whole lot about it though. I know it's like the sport of
It's
10,000
it's
casts,
like you're a
right?
muskie hunter at that point. You're hunting muskies. You're not
Yeah,
fishing for them.
right.
That's a deep topic. There's a lake here where I'm from, Pewaukee Lake. It is one of the most revered, sought after lakes for muskie fishing in this whole entire state, as far as I'm aware. And someone could correct me if I'm wrong. I might be.
If you are, they will.
But I tell you what, man, it is a there's a lot of muskie charters you can go on. In fact, we did my employer that I was just at, we spun up Surprise and Delight, which of course I stole from Gary Vaynerchuk because I love the idea so much. But this guy, one of my clients, I love fishing for muskies in the fall. Boom! Guess what you're getting, man? You're getting a muskie charter for your Surprise and Delight gift that you have no idea about. And he caught a muskie,
Oh,
and
that's
he
awesome.
never forgot it, of course, right? So it was like the whole Surprise and Delight thing definitely worked. But it was cool that he had actually gotten one, and it was from Pewaukee Lake, of course. That's where everyone goes.
Nice,
So
nice.
yeah. I'll have to get you introduced to some muskie people around here to talk on your Gearbox Talk.
Yeah, man.
The lures are like this big, they're like 3
Yeah.
feet long or something. It's just a whole different world.
Yeah, dude. It is a different world for sure, especially for a Kentucky kid like me.
Yeah. It's like fishing for a barracuda as far as
Yeah.
like, they're like the same, right? No, what else is going on with GoWild? What's new for you guys? What's on the horizon that you can talk about? We'll bring the plane in for a landing here a little bit. And if there's anything else we want to touch on, like, we're welcome to do so. You go nuts.
Yeah.
Go wild.
So the thing that, guys like Tom will be excited, and Tom's probably heard me say this a little bit. 2022 is the year of getting product. We did start selling product ourselves. We kind of operate as a dealer or a retailer for a lot of brands now. We work with Vortex, Steiner. We sell Irish Setter, Tacticam, Garmin, and we have a lot of products within these certain brands, but we are working really hard to become a valid place to shop. That is our business model. Is we want you to come to our platform, because when people are tagging the gear and they're sharing those trophies, we're learning what works really well to kill a deer, right? So our big bet is that we can help the community shop better. But in order to do that, we have to get more brands to sell. So by summer, GoWild will almost certainly have quadrupled the number of brands we sell. We are probably here. We're probably about 3 months from the first launch of just like an insane amount of brands at once, which is a huge undertaking that we're working on. Yeah. Dan kind of alluded to this recently on
onboard a product. It's a lot.
Yeah, the product volume is about to go through the roof. And that's the kind of thing, like, it's not a big sexy thing. Like, there's no big sexy product rollout on that. But when you think about the fact that you can unlock $25 gift cards on our platform, you can get these huge rewards. Like, we pretty much always are trying to launch brands in our ecosystem with some type of reward now. Really try to keep rewards active for guys like Tom who have been on the platform since rewards launched. And, we want to keep it fresh and keep them happy. So if you're on the platform now, it's a really good time to start building your points, loading in some old trophies. If you haven't done this, and to try to build up, because as you build up, you're getting into those point thresholds. Our points don't work like airline miles. You're not going to cash all these out. You're just getting into a higher threshold, kind of like leveling up. As you level up, you
like
get
Call of Duty, call it prestiging, right?
Yeah. So I haven't played Call of Duty since like the old PlayStation disc days, but yeah,
Same.
I imagine.
But, I remember you prestige, and it was a thing, and then you start square one again, but you're at a higher level, right? Or whatever.
Yeah. So as you level up, though, you get better rewards. Hey, one of our new guys, Kyler, who's this is his second day working at GoWild.
Oh my God! Hey, by the way, if you want to call in here before we,
oh yeah.
end, like
I have time. We're not rushing off. I have plenty of time. But the gear is coming. That's a huge thing we're working on. We are working on the ability by mid-year or so. I think we'll have the ability to start to browse certain species. Like whitetail is one we'll be launching with, where you can look at the entire ecosystem of like, here's whitetail content, here's whitetail gear that's trending, here are people that are posting about whitetail, all on this one page of the website. Braden, we were joking with Kyler because he was excited that he got a key to the office today. And I said, "No, man, this is just the bathroom key." I said, I said, "You're not quite to that point." So Braden's giving Kyler a little flack here.
Oh,
If you come work for us, we like to haze you for like the first 6 years that you work there. So,
that's funny.
everybody that works for us is still in their hazing period. But the pursuit pages are going to be a huge thing. I haven't really talked about those much public. We're really excited about the pursuits. You guys got to they're like talking about the quality of our toilet paper now. This went down to the shitter real quick.
Well, it is 2/2/22. Charmin is having quite the marketing field day with Tuesday.
Yeah, so that's a good one. Hadn't thought about that. It's like in a nanogram of poop. So the one of the coolest things that we're working on are going to be those pursuit pages, though. Like if you're really into whitetail, to be able to come in and just see like all the cool gear that other whitetail hunters are buying is going to be awesome.
I know I have my setup on there. I have my whitetail setup on there, and I know it could be, I'm looking forward to the product drops too, because there's more that I'm using that isn't available to like put on
Yeah.
there. And what happens if it's something that you don't have on the platform? Can you still like manually add it as a user to still talk about what it is you're using?
So when you go to your profile, when you want to build out your gear, you can go to your profile, scroll down, hit add your gear, and you can search for stuff. And it's not like we don't have gear. We have 500,000 products you can find. But if we don't have it, there's a little button at the bottom that says can't find it, add it here. So you can still add that, custom Hoyt bow or whatever you've got.
And then are you reviewing that list of stuff that you don't have to be
yeah,
this was mentioned like 18 times or 200 times or whatever? Like we should probably figure out if we can get a deal here.
The way we mostly do that is if a product that we don't carry is getting a ton of interaction, we want to sell that because that's now a product that we know our audience likes.
Yeah.
So we do look at that data for sure.
What about like, this is maybe in the weeds on your stuff, and if you can't answer these things, that's fine. That's okay. But like, exclusivity. If I'm a boot manufacturer, I'm like, well, you have the other boots on there too. Like, how do
we
you
don't do exclusivity.
That? That's good.
It's not really in anybody's best interest to do that. We want to have all of the products so that people can tag them. And so we've talked about doing exclusivity. Usually exclusivity means I make more money because they're paying us for that. But it's just not in the community's best interest, So I'm not saying we never will. Somebody may write that check that's big enough. But at the time it doesn't. Yeah. Variety's good. Greg's got it. Like we really feel like it's better for the community to have options. So, the challenge, man, we could do an entire show where I
the same thing. Like if I walk into Fleet Farm or Cabela's, they don't just have one brand of boot there.
Right, exactly.
I'm going to get whatever brand, you're
you get into some of these niche outdoor stores and they might, they may be like, no, man, we carry this brand because this is the brand that we bet on and we've vetted and we don't have returns and we can stand by these. It does happen. But we're just not trying to really play that game. The challenge with this, and you and I could have done just like we did a whole show on censorship and cancel culture. We could have done an entire show where I kind of unveiled the supply chain issues that the outdoor industry has seen over the last 18 months. I mean, we changed our whole business model because of it, right?
On another episode for that.
I mean, dude, it's insane.
That would probably help a lot of brands deal with their consumer complaints. Okay, go listen to this OK Center podcast episode if you want to know what's going on with our stuff. Okay,
dude, it's absolutely crazy, and it's one of those things. Like some of it's hard to talk about because I can't tell you some stuff without outing the brand itself. But I mean, it's just like a lot of it is out of our control. We watched containers go from like $3,000 a container at the beginning of 2020 in January or like, I think that's about what they were. Now it's $30,000. I haven't heard lately. It may be more than that, but that's why inflation is going through the roof.
It's everywhere. You can't even buy a used vehicle right now. Like there was a chip shortage that impacted everything. Like
the chip shortage is from
industry that's protected right now by these issues.
No, and it gets complicated, man. A lot of people are ripping on companies for making stuff overseas. We had some comments at Great American Outdoor Show about things that are made in China, and it's like, what's this country coming to? And I'm like, I get it, but at the same time, China is not what it used to be. China now has like a lot of incredibly skilled factory workers there now, and there's a labor force there that like we just don't compete with because America doesn't have a labor force that can compete with that and make products at the same level that China does. That's just a fact. There are certain types of products that are made pretty much exclusively in 2 or 3 factories overseas in the entire outdoor industry, like your glass. Start doing some research on where all your optics are made, and it's just a fact that there are 2 or 3 manufacturers that specialize in this stuff, and all the glass in the world is basically coming, even if it's assembled in the United States, it's coming out of these 2 or 3 factories because they're very skilled at this very specific thing. And so when COVID hit, all these factories didn't shut down like we did, where there was, the essential employees, right? Like a lot of them were out for the count for 6 to 8 weeks. And then when they came back, it's not like you just flip a factory back on and things are just caught up, right? You're now, when you miss 8 weeks of meeting
Come back to
demand,
school after missing summer. You spent half the first semester learning what you freaking
can't even
forgot the last.
you can't even write, right? Like you're like trying to write again. You're like you're making your
What's
D's
2 plus 2?
backwards because
Shit, I
yeah,
did math before. Like I don't remember that anymore.
yeah,
It's just you're reacclimating.
you're like reintroducing yourself to Jimmy, and Jimmy's like, I've known you since first grade, right? That's exactly what happened. They came back, and not only that, some brands didn't pull back in the same way, so they got ahead while other brands fell behind. Well, we're sitting over here trying to deal with all this stuff as a new retailer, and we're peanuts compared to the Bass Pros of the world. So navigating all this has been insane. I mean, I've been told that we picked the worst time in history to build this company.
Yeah,
So
but that's when the best companies are built if you look back in history.
yeah,
So
I mean, there's been efficiencies that I think our company is finding and new ways of doing it that are working out. But I mean, dude, the fishing industry too, like trying to get into the fishing industry right now. The fishing industry's long had a lot of these companies you have to be a brick and mortar to carry their products. And this, with all the pop-up of e-commerce websites over the last 2 years, everybody can start a e-commerce website in their basement now. So they've kind of doubled down on some of these restrictions, and we've been dealing with that too. You have to have brick and mortar to be able to sell some of these fishing products. So we're sitting over here like, well, we're going to open up a store, and have a store in our little dinky office here in Louisville. Pretty much seems to be the only way we're going to carry some of this fishing stuff. So
but you have a brick and mortar location.
we
You
do,
have a business office. You have
we do, but it's an entirely different model. Like
the making of a warehouse, right? Like you have a room, or maybe you're building a
we have
warehouse.
a garage that we call the warehouse, which is it's literally a glorified garage.
Yeah. Anybody want to call in? Call in here. We got the number 262-757-4122 for those on TikTok that can't see the screen, all that stuff. Tom just said, if you don't know what you can't do, you don't know what you can't do, anything is possible. Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good quote. Kind of our own ignorance keeps us, we don't know the ropes like some of these other companies do. So we to Tom's point, you're kind of like redefining how we would do things, right? It's like, well, I'm going to do it this way because I've never done it before, and then you end up finding
some of the best businesses ever started. If you listen to
totally is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Masters of Scale or the Startup Podcast, or there's I listen to a lot of startup stuff, and that's a lot of people have approached industries where they have no context at all, and that's how they really make things better or change it. Because when you get close to something, then you start to fall into the same trap of, well, we can't do that because this is difficult or because of that, and it gets harder the closer you get sometimes.
Yeah, I think one thing we've learned is that we're not a logistics company. We're not going to have this giant warehouse. Like I at one point thought in our business plan we were going to have like hundreds of thousands of square feet, and we were going to be a giant, shipper of product. And I think we really like our model that we're on right now, where we're kind of leaning on. We work really closely with manufacturers. Like if you buy a Garmin from us, it probably ships from Garmin. And we really like that drop ship model because it allows us to have more inventory without having to have those products to and the team.
Costs competitive, and you're
Yeah,
not charged.
it adds complications, but it does give us some
Yeah. Hopefully
competitive
technology
advantage.
makes it easier, APIs and things of that nature, and connecting to people's stuff. And there's
Yeah,
a lot of things. Like look at Pick and Save. I don't know where the hell someone's located. Everyone's from all over the country when they listen. But your grocery store, Instacart, is built to then plug into whatever the ERP or whatever the inventory system is of that grocery store. So then they know if something got picked off the shelf, that it hit that whatever they have in inventory. Now you can go pick that as an Instacart shopper. Same thing with restaurants for like DoorDash. And
we basically do Instacart for outdoor gear.
oh my
Like,
God, that's a great way to explain it.
yeah, that's I've never thought about it that way, but that's pretty much how our system works when you're ordering. Now to make it complicated though, we do have things that yeah, Greg's right. Drop shipping. The bad part about drop shipping is you're like the lowest man on totem pole because you don't own the inventory.
Yep.
So that's where it gets complicated, especially in supply chain. That's where people tell us that we.
Right. If I'm going to the grocery store and someone's going to pick something, over me being there, that would piss me off as a consumer. So you're right about like the lowest man on the totem pole.
Yeah, I mean, and it makes sense. And normally it wouldn't matter because everybody has plenty of product, but right now we live in this world where inventory comes and goes, like a fart in the wind.
Yeah, but so then demand's way up. So then you can only raise your prices so much, and then you have inflation. So this is really a complex topic. You're you're right about that. At the end of the day,
nuts, man. And then we do free shipping. That's the other thing. Like we do free shipping for members. It's getting ready to be member only. We're shutting that off to the outside world. It's been just for everybody, but we're doing free shipping member only. So another reason to join. You're literally you buy a freaking dog kennel from us right now, and you don't pay shipping.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy.
So what type of content is performs best, or like what kind of obviously if you're listening to this podcast, whether you're watching live now or once you get in podcast, on which will be produced tonight, it's how we roll here. We produce the same evening. Be sure to go GoWild and log that you listen to this episode. You will get points.
Yeah.
And those points will help you do things that you want to do or buy the stuff that you want to buy. I don't know, man. Your platform's been pretty great. I've had a lot. I mean, we've got podcast guests coming from your platform. I put a post out that said, "Hey, we're looking to talk to people that are doing trapping and predator hunting."
Dude, we have the most awesome trapping community in the freaking world.
It's like I don't know nothing about, and it's not.
I don't think there's a more active, awesome trapping community than the GoWild community. In fact, Logan Medish, who you should have Logan on the show sometime. He's a gun historian, super interesting guy. I've done a couple podcasts with him. In fact, last year when there was no SHOT Show, me and him did SHOT Show 1920, and or I guess 1921, and did this whole show of like what would have been unveiled at SHOT Show 100 years ago. But he's also learning the trap, and he wrote this article for Free Range American, and he talked about our platform. He's like, and then I posted on GoWild and got a ton of answers on how to tan this hide of this beaver. And it's like, once again, where else can you go to get something that specific, like old world knowledge?
You have to find a Facebook group, and good luck with that, because you have like 1,000 rules from the content.
Yeah, you post it and they're like, that question's been asked before. They're so mean, dude.
Yeah. There's like a lot of memes when you join a Facebook group. It's ridiculous how
dude I used to be in those things. I'm not on Facebook anymore. I've been gone for years. But
are you guys on Reddit? There's a lot of deep granular stuff on Reddit, but there's not a lot of hunters on Reddit.
There's a hunting forum that's pretty active on Reddit, but it's the same thing, man. Like you post on there, and the mods on there are dicks. Like they take down stuff. They police it insanely tight. They again, if you post something that's redundant, you're gonna get yelled at. Like it's nuts, dude. I don't understand that. People take themselves too seriously.
Greg said trapping is underappreciated and a lost way of life. He enjoys it. He enjoyed it. I know, Greg. I know.
I thought we'd get call-ins here. Maybe not for marital advice or dating advice, but I have some skills that I thought would be very transferable, like shaving a head, as bald as mine, Eric, and how I get it that clean. I thought for sure after an hour of this, people would be like, I can see the glisten through that hat. I thought we'd have that. For sure, I thought we'd get barbecue people that wanted to ask barbecue questions.
Well, we got to find a way to share this to GoWild. And you guys do video there too, right? Tell me a little bit about. the video
Yeah,
stuff.
you can post video. Braden said people on Reddit are savages. He's scared to post there, and it's like for sure. Um, we do have video. I will not lie, our video kind of sucks. It's like
It's got to
it's
be challenging to navigate. How do you like? I don't even know what technologically goes into that. It sounds awful.
it is awful. We're working on getting it. I think by the end of the year it'll be better. Chris is working on this right now. We hired a guy who has some video expertise, so video will be getting better. It's got a 2-minute cap on it though, so you can post videos. It's just actually the upload, the latest build on or latest version on iOS on the Apple phones is like 10 times faster than it used to be on. And I think Android will be getting that update soon. So we're making progress. I love everybody just like poo-pooing on Reddit. This is great.
It's a big community.
There's a Reddit thread out there. If you search for GoWild on Reddit, we haven't had much discussion of us, so you can find it. You can find one of my first posts where I posted about GoWild in that hunting forum, and actually some dude commented, and he's like, if you're wanting, because I was trying to find people to test it back in the day. This is like 2017, and some dude's like, if you want us to test your app, you need to tell us about what it is. And I like go back and edit it and update it because but that's the kind of stuff you get from Reddit. It's like I said what it was. It was a hunting app, and I was looking for people to test it, and it wasn't enough. That's Jackie. Jackie's also one of our newer employees. She says that Android's rolling out the video update soon.
That's great to know. I put a video out, I think the Waddell one actually. I think that was one of the first. I've done only a handful of videos on our account, on my account, Eric Clark's account. I think we have an OKS Hunter account now, but I haven't done anything with it yet. So more to come there. I think I've been working with Braden on that. So I don't.
Cool.
Maybe we can talk more about that. To see what can exist there, but video is. Man, it's really engaging. People like I believe in one of the principles of like accommodating preferences. And there's three. There's the written word, there's pictures, and then there's videos, and then audio. Right? So maybe it's four. I don't know why I did three, and I thought of four things, but audio, video, and pictures I think are maybe similar than written word. And not everyone likes to read, not everyone likes to listen, not everyone likes to watch, but some people like some or one of those things. And trying to like put out content that hits on some of those or all of those is a way for us to try to grow our following.
I love that Tom is now making fun of both of us. I think he says you can't afford the big green egg and don't have the ability to understand all the possibilities of the Traeger.
Well, no, I disagree, Tom. I disagree because I don't have a Traeger. I have a Pit Boss, so they're competitively priced. And I'll say that my perspective of a pellet grill is like smoking meat for dummies.
Yeah,
because
I always say
I sit all those coals for that long and understand what the hell I'm doing. But I tell you what, I preheat my Pit Boss to whatever the hell temperature. It stays at that temperature, and I smoke meat all day long, and it turns out great.
Tom's heard me say this.
I know. Brad's like a legit barbecuer and meat smoker, so
I'm a little snobby when it comes to the Traeger. I actually never recommend anybody get a big green egg because there's so much work that most people wouldn't do it. But I always like to pick on people that have Traegers and tell them I didn't know Easy Bake Oven made smokers.
Well, my gas grill, my Weber that my dad handed down to me, had an issue. It was old when he gave it to me, but it's fine. I used it for a couple of years, and then it had like a problem. I was like, okay, I have a decision to make. And then I looked at all of them. I looked at the green egg. I looked at whatever the other competitive green egg product is. I looked at all of the pellet grills. I looked at smokers. I looked at the new gas. I was like, and I was like, I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to try a pellet grill and see what all the hype is about. And I've enjoyed it quite a bit.
Dude, they're fine. The pellet smokers are fine. I don't think they can beat real charcoal.
I still have the charcoal Weber, by the way. I still have that.
Yeah, it's really tough to beat that taste though. Like you can do some really good stuff on a Traeger. Jeremiah Dowdy will disagree with me until the end of time. This is like our
you can expose the flame. So you can still char your meat, and that was
that's cool.
That was the at my price point of the budget that I'd set for this. Because you can get levels of Traeger or Pit Boss or whatever. You can get really expensive ones. I didn't get that, but they were the same price, and the Pit Boss offered that open flame kind of thing. And I was like, well, shit, if I'm gonna get one, I want to still be able to like have fire kiss my meat.
Yeah. Oh, this took a turn. This is one of those things that might be questionable if it was posted on GoWild. It'd be like, was it porn? And then we have to decide if Eric's talking about porn or not. And it's like, no, it's
I
just
want
meat.
Tyler to kiss my meat.
Actually, I see another one of our team. There must be somebody must have put this in our company
YouTube or something.
Slack channel because I see that Alex showed up. I love. I bought an Oklahoma Joe, the reverse flow offset smoker, which is a mouthful.
That's a
But
freaking mouthful.
yeah,
Jeez.
but it is the like I have smoked. I only smoked on it. I got it last year, I guess, and I've only gotten to smoke on it a few times, which is unfortunate. But like because it's like every 30 minutes you got to go out there and babysit the coals. But it
Yeah, I
pulls the
can't
heat
handle
below on all across the meat on the so it's even, and then the smoke comes back across the top.
that. Wow.
It is by far um like worth the effort if you're gonna do like a ton of chicken wings or you're gonna do like chickens. I'll spatchcock chickens and split them and then lay them out and then just kind of baste them a couple times. Oh my god, it's like I'm
Dude,
not worthy.
so I started a new job on Monday, literally yesterday. I'm 2 days
Congrats.
into it. Thank you. And Ryan, my new boss,
Yep.
is apparently a pretty damn good cook, and he was making my mouth water with some of the stuff he was talking about cooking. Like, I don't know if you two have talked about that kind of stuff before, but I feel like next time I'm in Kentucky, I really, not that I want to make you cook for me, but I kind of want to have you cook for me. As
Yeah,
much
we
as
should
we
do it.
talk about food, I feel like it'd be a real experience to be like, I can't go to Kentucky and have a meal from Brad or something.
Yeah, my team, we've done that several times. Like if somebody flies in, a lot of times what I'll do is just make venison barbacoa. It's not necessarily even smoked food. It's just
Okay.
something like so they can get some venison. You've probably had that, and you usually have venison that you can do on your own. So next time you're in Louisville, as long as it's not like the ATA party, I'm not like walking into the ATA
Yeah, yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
something for you, but we'll figure it out. Yeah, Braden, we did a deer heart video. Braden was at my house and we smoked deer heart. I think
For the
that was on my new
Valentine's Day
smoker.
special.
Well, no, it was just like over the summer we wanted to do a comparison of the big green egg and then the offset smoker, and then we talked about the easy bake ovens.
Someone on TikTok just said making venison tacos at the moment. Rock on. Good for you,
Nice.
dude. Cool. Deer liver is good. Okay, I can't. There's too many screens on
Yeah,
my.
you got a lot you're watching here.
It's a lot. So hey, folks, thanks for tuning in. Obviously we'll roll a Go Wild ad at the beginning of this, or if you're listening, you already heard it, of course, if it's in podcast land. But Brad, be very specific. I know timetogowild.com. I've had people go there. What are the different, you have a couple different domains.
Yeah, we have too many domains. I actually I have a domain buying problem.
Same here.
If you know of a good group like a domain buying
Need the same group.
anonymous, I could literally shed. Actually, I've been trying to shed all of the domains that I've bought with GoWild. I've shed like 20 of them this year. So the best thing to do if you want to join is to go to downloadgowild.com. If you want to shop,
Okay.
yeah, if you want to shop, you can go to shopgowild.com. The Time to Go Wild website you mentioned goes to all that stuff. But if you want to download the app, it's downloadgowild.com. It'll take you to Android or iOS. Check it out, create an account. When you create an account, you get $10. And so, I'm literally going to pay you to try out my app. I mean, who does that, right? It's like we give you money when you sign up. So come check it out. I mean, you'll get an automated message from me. I usually just admit that that's automated. I am not sitting at my computer waiting on people to join, like typing out that message. But what's cool is if you reply back and say that you heard about the platform on the Okayest Hunter, then we can dialogue and talk a little bit about Eric when he's not around to defend himself.
Yeah, and that's fine with me. I don't know. We self-deprecate a lot here anyways. It's like part
That's
of our
right.
brand ethos or something. I think it's like one of our core values. Self-deprecate. Be humble, whatever.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. I'm happy to talk with you. It's good I think we covered a lot of really, visceral topics. So it'll be interesting to see if we get any feedback from this one. Our downloads have been pretty strong lately, even for off season. I'm really surprised with the number of people that are listening and tuning into our show. So thanks for for commenting, for the folks that commented. No calls, yay holes, what the hell? But comments
It's all
are
right.
fine. Usually, the
Next
excuse
time.
is it was bath night, or it was dinner time, or if you guys did this later or earlier, I'm like, okay, well, we'll try to do our best here to accommodate. But
I need to do a better job of promoting it on the GoWild side next time, and we'll drum up some calls. We'll get maybe
Cool.
Squatch a call.
Yeah, we can bring in a couple people too. We could have a few of you from GoWild. We could run, another endpoint if we wanted to do more screens, or if we want to get Brain in here, and anybody else. We'd be happy to do more of you. It doesn't have to be just you, and then people can give you some shit real time. That'd be kind of fun to watch.
That sounds good, man.
Cool. Well, on the live broadcast, folks, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.